The vast observation deck of the ESS Magellan fell silent as the alien vessel shimmered into existence. Admiral Sarah Chen gripped the railing, her knuckles white against the polished metal. After decades of scanning the stars, humanity had finally made contact with an advanced civilization. The ship before them defied conventional physics, a crystalline structure that seemed to bend light itself around its graceful curves. Incoming transmission. Admiral, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the tension permeating the bridge. Put it through, Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. The holoscreen flickered to life, revealing beings that seemed to be made of flowing light and shadow. Their form shifted constantly, like smoke caught in an ethereal breeze. The central figure's voice resonated directly in their minds, a symphony of harmonics that somehow formed words. Greetings, carbon-based entities. We are the Concordat, a union of civilizations that has guided the galaxy's development for 50,000 years. Chen stepped forward. On behalf of Earth and humanity, we welcome. How quaint, another voice interrupted, tinged with amusement. They still used verbal communication. Please, continue your greeting ritual, the first being said, condescension dripping from every word. We find primitive species customs fascinating. Dr. Maya Patel, the ship's quantum physicist, watched the exchange from her station, her eyes narrowing as she studied the readings from the aliens' transmission. Something about the way they were communicating didn't align with known physics. While the rest of the crew endured the Concordat's mockery, she began running deeper scans. The aliens proceeded to dissect human achievements with casual cruelty. They dismissed Earth's quantum computers as charming toys and described humanity's first faster-than-light drive as about as sophisticated as throwing rocks. Each comment struck like a physical blow to the crew's pride. Perhaps, one being mused, in a few thousand years, you might achieve something noteworthy. Until then, we'll establish an observation post in your system. Your species provides amusing entertainment. Maya's console suddenly beeped, drawing her attention to an anomaly in the data. The Concordat's transmission wasn't using standard subspace frequencies. It was somehow utilizing multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. But there was something else, something they were missing. Admiral, she whispered urgently, their tech isn't more advanced than ours. It's just operating on principles we never considered. They're blind to whole aspects of quantum mechanics that we take for granted. Chen gave an imperceptible nod, maintaining her diplomatic smile as the aliens continued their patronizing speech about humanity's charming primitive culture. We appreciate your guidance, Chen responded carefully. We look forward to learning from the Concordat's wisdom. How delightful, the alien leader chimed. They understand their place. We'll return in one standard solar rotation to begin establishing the observation post. Do try not to destroy yourselves before then. We so rarely find species that amuse us this much. The transmission ended, and the alien ship vanished in a display of spatial distortion that set Maya's instruments wild with readings. Chen waited until all scans confirmed the aliens were truly gone before turning to her quantum physicist. Dr. Patel, explain. Maya's fingers flew across her console, bringing up complex equations. Their entire civilization is built on manipulating higher dimensions, but they're only using a fraction of the dimensional spectrum. It's like they developed spaceflight without ever discovering gravity. They're so advanced in one direction that they never looked in others. Can we use this? Chen asked, her eyes glinting with determination. Better, Maya replied, excitement creeping into her voice. We've been working on Project Olympus back on Earth, theoretical research into dimensional physics. The Concordat just proved our theories possible, but they're not seeing the whole picture. We could potentially develop technology that operates on principles they can't even detect. Chen surveyed her crew, seeing the same fire of determination in their eyes that she felt in her heart. They expect us to wait thousands of years to earn their respect, she said quietly. I say we show them what humanity can do in 1 year. Dr. Patel, contact Project Olympus. Tell them we're about to accelerate their timeline. As the Magellan turned back toward Earth, Maya began composing her report. The Concordat thought they had encountered another primitive species to study and dismiss. Instead, they had unknowingly handed humanity the keys to technological advancement they never imagined possible. In their arrogance, they had failed to recognize a fundamental truth. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come not from age-old wisdom, but from fresh eyes seeing what others had overlooked for millennia. The real question was, how would they react when humanity showed them just how wrong they were? Deep beneath the Australian outback, Project Olympus had transformed from a theoretical research facility into a hive of urgent activity. The massive underground complex hummed with energy as Dr. Maya Patel strode through its corridors, her footsteps echoing against metal floors that had been empty just months ago. The encounter with the Concordat had changed everything. What was once a small team of theoretical physicists had exploded into a global collaborative effort, with the brightest minds from every nation working in secret toward a single goal. The latest simulation results are ready, called Dr. James Chen, no relation to the Admiral but equally driven. He stood before a holographic display showing mathematical models that would have been incomprehensible to even advanced physicists a year ago. Maya studied the equations, her mind racing. They're still stuck in traditional dimensional thinking, she mused. The Concordat's technology is like a sword. They've refined it to perfection, but they're still just cutting in a straight line. What we're developing here is more like a sphere, James finished, operating in all directions at once. The central chamber of Project Olympus housed their prototype, a device they called the Mobius core. Unlike the Concordat's crystalline technology, it appeared deceptively simple, a series of interlocking rings surrounding a sphere of pure energy, each layer rotating in patterns that seemed random but followed precise mathematical principles. Dr. Sarah O'Neill, their lead engineer, emerged from beneath the core's maintenance panel. The quantum entanglement matrix is holding steady, she reported, wiping grease from her hands. But we're still having trouble maintaining stability above 4 dimensions. Show me, Maya said, moving to the control console. The core hummed to life, its rings beginning their complex dance. On the monitors, dimensional readings spiked into previously theoretical ranges. There, James pointed. The energy patterns collapse when we try to extend beyond the 4th dimensional barrier. It's like hitting a wall. Maya frowned, remembering the Concordat ship. They're brute-forcing their way through dimensions. That's why they need so much power. We need to be smarter. She began typing rapidly, adjusting equations that represented the fundamental forces of reality itself. What if, she continued, her fingers flying across the holographic interface, instead of pushing through dimensional barriers, we slip between them. Look at these readings from the Concordat's transmission. They're completely ignoring the quantum foam layer, the space between spaces. Understanding dawned on James's face, like walking through a wall by stepping through the gaps between atoms. Exactly. Sarah, can you reconfigure the containment field to operate on these frequencies? The engineer studied the new calculations. It's risky. We'd be operating in completely uncharted territory. One mistake, and we could tear a hole in reality itself. Reality already has holes, Maya replied. We just need to learn to use them. Over the next weeks, the team worked tirelessly, refining their approach. While the Concordat's observation post took shape in orbit around Pluto, humanity prepared their response. The Mobius core evolved, each failure bringing new understanding, each success bringing them closer to their goal. The breakthrough came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Maya had fallen asleep at her console, surrounded by coffee cups and takeout containers, when an alert jolted her awake. The core's rings were moving in perfect synchronization, and the energy readings. James, Sarah, get in here. The team assembled within minutes, watching in awe as the Mobius core achieved what they had thought impossible. The sphere of energy at its center wasn't just stable. It was opening windows into other dimensions, slipping between the fabric of space-time itself. My God, Sarah whispered. "We did it." "Not yet," Maya replied, her eyes fixed on the readings. "This is just the beginning. Now we need to build it bigger." Admiral Chen's voice came through their secure communication channel. "Dr. Patel, status report." Maya allowed herself a small smile. "Tell the shipyards to begin construction, Admiral. Project Olympics is ready to move to Phase 2. As the message was relayed to facilities around the world, Maya looked at her team. They had just rewritten the laws of physics, but their real challenge was just beginning. The Concordat thought they had humanity safely contained, developing at a pace they could control and monitor. They had no idea that beneath the Earth's surface, humanity was preparing to leap not just centuries but millennia ahead in technological development. The question wasn't if they would succeed, but how the Concordat would react when they realized just how completely they had underestimated human potential. The countdown to revelation had begun. The Concordat's Grand Assembly Hall buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in emergency session. Above their heads, holographic displays showed the spreading chaos, tiers in spacetime appearing across multiple sectors, swallowing entire star systems. "The dimensional rifts are expanding exponentially," announced High Chancellor Vex, their luminous form flickering with distress. 3 more colonies lost in the past solar cycle. In the back of the chamber, Earth's observational representative, Dr. Maya Patel, watched silently. The Concordat had graciously allowed one human to attend their assemblies. As a learning experience, they'd said. They didn't expect her to contribute, just observe and marvel at their advanced civilization. But now that civilization was facing something they couldn't understand or control. "Our containment fields are failing," another delegate reported. "The rifts operate on principles we can't explain. They're not just tiers in space, they're fractures in dimensional stability itself." Maya's quantum tablet quietly recorded everything, transmitting encrypted data back to Project Olympus. The Concordat's confusion was telling. They had mastered travel through higher dimensions, but never truly understood them. "Perhaps," suggested one delegate, their crystalline form shimmering with barely concealed fear, "we should consider evacuating the affected sectors entirely." The assembly erupted in chaos. Abandoning territory was unthinkable to the Concordat, an admission of failure they had never faced in 50,000 years of dominance. Maya's tablet vibrated. A secure message from Admiral Chen. "Mobius ship construction at 92%. Integration tests successful. Awaiting your assessment." She typed back quickly. "Crisis worse than expected." Concordat completely blind to quantum foam dynamics. They can't see what's really happening. The dimensional rifts weren't random, as the Concordat believed. Maya had recognized the pattern immediately. The tiers were appearing at points where the Concordat's dimensional technology had strained the fabric of reality for millennia. Their brute force approach had finally created cascade failures in the universe itself. Back on Earth, Project Olympus had transformed into something far greater than planned. The original Mobius core had evolved into the heart of humanity's first true dimensional ship, the ESS Prometheus. Unlike the Concordat's vessels that pushed through dimensions, the Prometheus could slide between them, using the quantum foam as highways through reality. Maya's attention snapped back to the assembly as alarms blared. A new rift had appeared, larger than any before, at the edge of Concordat space. "Impossible," High Chancellor Vex declared. "Our models predicted we had more time." "Chancellor," Maya spoke up for the first time in months of attending these sessions. The assembly fell silent, many seemingly having forgotten the human was even present. "We may be able to help." Laughter rippled through the chamber, nervous but still condescending. "My dear Primitive," Vex responded, "while we appreciate your species' enthusiasm, this crisis involves principles of dimensional physics your kind won't understand for millennia." Maya stood, her voice carrying across the suddenly quiet hall. "The rifts aren't random tiers. They're pressure points where your technology has strained dimensional barriers past their breaking point. You've been forcing your way through higher dimensions without understanding the spaces between them. Absurd, a delegate scoffed. The quantum foam layer is merely theoretical. To you, Maya interrupted, because you never learned to see it. You mastered climbing mountains without ever discovering tunnels. Before anyone could respond, her tablet displayed a new message. Prometheus ready for launch, awaiting your signal. Maya looked up at the assembly, at the beings who had dismissed humanity as primitives, who were now watching their mighty civilization face its first true crisis. Earth requests an emergency session of the full Concordat Council, she announced formally. We have a solution to propose. High Chancellor Vex's form rippled with something between amusement and desperation. You can't possibly. In one standard day, Maya continued calmly, humanity will demonstrate technology that operates on principles your science has never explored. The only question is whether you'll be willing to accept help from primitives. As she left the chamber, trailing shocked whispers behind her, Maya sent her response to Admiral Chen. Launch the Prometheus. It's time to show them what humanity can really do. The pieces were in place. The Concordat's arrogance had led them to ignore humanity's potential, and now that same arrogance had created a crisis only humans could solve. In 24 hours, everything would change. The storm wasn't just gathering, it was about to break. The Concordat's emergency council chamber hung suspended in space, a massive crystalline structure that served as the seat of galactic governance. Representatives from every major civilization had gathered, their forms ranging from energy beings to crystalline entities, all united by a single emotion: fear. The dimensional rifts had grown. 3 more systems had vanished in the past day alone. Holographic displays showed the spreading devastation, tears and reality consuming everything in their path. High Chancellor Vex addressed the assembly, their luminous form dimmer than usual. The human delegation has requested this session to propose a solution. While we have doubts about their capability to assist in this crisis, a murmur of amusement rippled through the chamber, despite the grave situation. The idea of primitive humans helping the mighty Concordat seemed absurd. We will hear their proposal, Vex concluded, gesturing to where Dr. Maya Patel stood. She was no longer alone. Admiral Chen and Dr. James Chen flanked her, representing Earth's military and scientific communities. Before Maya could speak, alarms blared throughout the chamber. A massive dimensional distortion had appeared directly adjacent to the council station. Containment fields at maximum, someone shouted. But the readings, this is impossible. The space before the station seemed to fold in on itself, not with the violent tear of the rifts, but with an elegant precision that defied comprehension. Reality parted like a curtain, and through that parting emerged a ship unlike anything the Concordat had ever seen. The ESS Prometheus hung in space, its design a perfect fusion of art and physics. Unlike the Concordat's crystalline vessels that forced their way through dimensions, the Prometheus seemed to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Its hull rippled with patterns that hurt to look at, the metal somehow flowing between different layers of reality. Silence fell over the council chamber. Honorable representatives of the Concordat. Admiral Chen's voice rang out clearly. Allow us to demonstrate humanity's solution to the dimensional crisis. On her signal, the Prometheus began to move. But rather than pushing through space like conventional ships, it seemed to slide between the layers of reality itself. It approached one of the nearby rifts, and the assembly watched in stunned silence as the ship's dimensional field engaged with the tear. The rifts aren't just breaks in space-time, Maya explained, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. They're pressure points where the fabric of reality has been strained past its breaking point by centuries of brute force dimensional travel. But reality isn't meant to be forced. It's meant to be understood. The Prometheus extended its field around the rift. Where the Concordat's technology had tried to contain and suppress the tears, humanity's approach was fundamentally different. The ship wasn't fighting the rift. It was guiding it, using the quantum foam layer to redistribute the dimensional strain. Gradually, impossibly, the rift began to close. Impossible, whispered one of the Concordat's senior scientists. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical if you tried to force it, James agreed. But we're not forcing anything. We're working with the natural structure of dimensional space, not against it. The implications slowly dawned on the assembly. Humanity hadn't just developed new technology. They had discovered principles of physics that the Concordat, in all their millennia of advancement, had never even considered. How? High Chancellor Vex demanded, their form fluctuating with agitation. How did you achieve this in mere months when we've studied dimensional physics for thousands of years? Maya smiled. Because you stopped looking for new answers. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never considered other possibilities. Sometimes it takes fresh eyes to see what others have overlooked for millennia. Ship hummed before the council chamber, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. We're prepared to share this technology, Admiral Chen announced. To work together as equals to address this crisis. The question is, are you prepared to accept that humanity might have something to teach the mighty Concordat? The chamber erupted in discussion. The old order was crumbling before their eyes. The primitives they had dismissed had just demonstrated mastery over principles that the Concordat hadn't even known existed. A new age was dawning in the galaxy. And this time, humanity would help write its rules. 1 year after humanity's dramatic revelation at the Concordat Council, the galaxy had transformed in ways few could have imagined. The massive chamber of the newly established Dimensional Sciences Academy buzzed with activity as beings from hundreds of worlds collaborated, sharing knowledge and perspectives that were reshaping their understanding of the universe. Dr. Maya Patel stood at a teaching station, surrounded by an eager audience of both humans and aliens. Before her, a holographic display showed the intricate dance of dimensions that they now understood as the quantum foam layer. The key was never about power, she explained, manipulating the display. It was about understanding the spaces between spaces, the quantum highways that connect all dimensions. In the audience, a crystalline being who had once dismissed humans as primitives now took careful notes. Next to them, a young human scientist debated theory with an energy being from the Concordat's inner worlds. The old barriers of superiority and disdain had crumbled in the face of shared discovery. Admiral Chen, now serving as Earth's representative on the reformed Galactic Council, watched from the back of the chamber. The Prometheus's success had led to a fleet of new ships, each one improving on the original design. But more importantly, it had led to a fundamental shift in how species interacted with each other. Admiral, High Chancellor Vex approached, their luminous form now carrying a hint of blue. The Concordat equivalent of humility. The last of the major rifts has been sealed. The joint human Concordat teams have performed admirably. They have, Chen agreed, though I suspect that's not what you really wanted to discuss. Vex's form flickered, a sign of amusement. Direct as always. You humans have taught us more than just dimensional physics this past year. Your perspective has proven invaluable in ways we never expected. The Academy's main hall displayed a living testament to that change. Where once the Concordat had hoarded knowledge, now research teams from dozens of species worked together. The humans' fresh approach had sparked a renaissance of scientific discovery. We found something interesting in the ancient archives, Vex continued. Records of the beings who came before us, the ones who first taught the Concordat about dimensional travel. We had assumed they perished when they vanished, but after studying your quantum foam theories, you think they found the spaces between? Chen asked, intrigued. We think they tried to tell us about them, but we were too set in our ways to understand. We made the same mistake with humanity that our teachers made with us, assuming there was only one path to advancement. In the chamber center, the Mobius core that had started everything now served as both a teaching tool and a reminder. Its interlocking rings represented more than just technological achievement. They symbolized the interconnectedness of all species, all approaches to understanding the universe. Dr. James Chen, now heading the Academy's theoretical division, Join them. The quantum foam network extends further than we imagined, he reported excitedly. We're detecting signals that suggest entire civilizations might exist in the spaces between dimensions. And this time, Maya added, joining the conversation, we'll be ready to learn from them, not dismiss them. The Academy's windows looked out over the sprawling complex that had replaced the old Concordat Council Station, where once stood monuments to one civilization's supremacy. Now rose structures that celebrated diversity of thought and approach. Ships of both human and Concordat design shared the space lanes, each contributing their unique strengths to the galactic community. You know, Admiral Chen mused, watching a group of young cadets, human and alien alike, board a training vessel. A year ago, you called us primitives who might be worthy of notice in a few thousand years. Vex's form rippled with what might have been embarrassment. We were wrong about many things. Not entirely, Maya smiled. You said we needed thousands of years to earn your respect. We just decided to do it on our own timeline. As the sun set on another day of discovery and collaboration, the galaxy continued its transformation. The dimensional rifts that had threatened civilization had led to something unprecedented. True partnership between species who had thought they had nothing to learn from each other. Humanity had proved that progress didn't always come from age or advancement, but from the willingness to see things differently. And in doing so, they hadn't just earned their place among the stars. They had helped create a new way forward for all species. The age of isolation and superiority was over. The age of collaboration and discovery had begun. And it all started because someone had bothered to look between the spaces that everyone else had overlooked.